Hello folks, this is Mike DeBruzzo from K91 Specialized Dog Training, and this is going to be a pretty important video for anyone that is interested in learning how to get good control over a personal protection dog during an actual bite. So the way that we do it is we set the dog up for success by first training the dog separately in most of their bite building exercises and make sure we're satisfied with what they're doing with the tug work, and even with be fairly happy with how they're biting on a suit, and then being happy with how the dog is doing with their obedience. So we wait for the dog to be finished with their phase 3 obedience, so the dog understands how to listen off the leash, what to do if they get corrected off the leash, and this way they're not stressed out and they're not making any kind of weird associations. Like if you have to correct them for disobeying, you do not want them to think it's because they're biting the tug or something like that. So you want to make sure the dog has a thorough understanding, and you're confident through the dog's body language that they have a good idea what they're doing in the obedience and what they're doing in the bite work. So this is where we combine both of these things together to work towards the bigger picture of them eventually doing this in a real situation. For instance, without you having to choke off the dog, lots of screaming going on by the handler, just there being some sort of chaos. These concepts also work well for anyone who also does sport work as well. So we're going to go over, I wrote down a bunch of pointers that I want to go over, and then you'll see some footage of a young German Shepherd, about 10 months old, who is going to learn the concepts, at the younger age before they do this, more realistic situations when they get older. So here are going to be some of our points. Okay, our first point that I wrote down is we're going to start with a tug or a toy of some sort. Do not start, if your dog has worked its way onto a suit and the bite works separately without all the control, don't do this exercise by starting on the suit. It's going to be much easier. You're going to get more repetitions if you just use a tug. And also, if we make an error or we misjudge and the dog gets corrected with the wrong timing or the dog gets confused, it's better for the dog to experience it with just a tug than on the actual suit. So I always just start off with a tug when we're doing this. You are going to need 2 people to help you with the exercise. Obviously, you need someone who's going to hold the tug. I usually hold it where I've been training the dog to target, and then the other person working the dog. An alternative, if you do have a dog that likes a spring pole, a lot of like the band dogs and pit bulls and the bully breeds, they'll love hanging on a spring pole. Spring pole is an amazing tool to do an exercise like this, because then you could do this with only one person, this exercise. You can send the dog pretty much to the spring pole and let the dog enjoy the spring pole for a while, and then you could do the obedience off of the spring pole and send the dog back to the spring pole. So that's point 1. Point 2 is going to be, don't use the dog's name when you're praising the dog in this exercise. Now, what we mean by that is when you send the dog to bite on the tug or the spring pole or any kind of toy that the dog is enjoying, it is good for the handler to praise the dog while they're biting, right? Because this is going to carry through to the personal protection. They have to get used to your presence. They have to know when you're near, so they don't think you're a bad guy and turn around and bite you by accident. So while the dog is biting, do say good boy or good girl, praise the dog. It's okay, come over and you could even pet the dog. But don't say the dog's name. Like, don't say good boy Elvis, or Elvis, good boy. The reason why you don't want to add the name into the praise is if you've done the obedience correctly, when the dog hears their name, they generally think a command is about to come. So what it could do is loosen up the dog's grip because they're getting ready to do a command, or they may actually let go because they're going to anticipate, a command. Which, when they're on the bite, generally any command that they have is part of that command is going to make them to release the bite, to do whatever command it is. So don't say the dog's name while you're praising the dog. That's really during, any training really. Just good boy or good girl, and you'll see, you'll see this happening in the video. Next point is going to be remember your dog training trinity when we do this exercise. Okay, I say you're going to see the footage, and I'm going to put little text reminders of all these things as you're seeing it in the footage. When we're combining the control with the bite work, your dog's biggest reward, if you have a dog with a lot of drive, is not going to be a treat. You're not going to want to be given a treat necessarily in bite work. It's going to be the chance to bite if they enjoy doing it. So in our dog training trinity, keep in mind what we're going to be using is, I just highlighted the negative and the D over here. Go back and look at your dog training trinity in the literature if you don't know what it is. All right, so if the dog's on the bite, when it's time to give a dog a command, give the dog a command just like you would any other, where it has to be reinforced. But your dog's reward is always going to be to go back to the object that it was biting. So when we do this exercise, every time the dog does a command for you, it's pretty much always within one or two commands going to be able to go back to what it was doing, which is biting you. The only time you may give some positive reinforcement, well, besides the praise, you're going to praise the dog, but the only time you're going to give like a primary enforcer, such as a treat, would be maybe the last time that we take the tug or the toy away or we put it back. We give something to the dog. The next thing, important point over here, you're going to see is make sure you mix up the commands. You're going to notice in the video that I not once tell the dog to out when they're releasing anything. Out is a valid command, and you can use it for a lot of things, including in bite work. When you want the dog to release something, I use it a lot when I just want them to release a ball or a toy or something like that. But I don't use it that often in bite work, mainly because it's sort of like the stay command. It's going to add, at least in personal protection training, it's kind of adding an extra command to things. Because generally, if I out a dog, I want the dog to also do something else, like to out and then come to me, or out and then sit, or out and then down. And it's going to be different depending on the situation. So what I do, and you'll see in the video, is I don't say the word out, I just go right to the command. Because you'll see, if you want the dog to out and come, just tell the dog to come. The dog's going to naturally have to out anyway to come to you. So you skip the word out, you go right to the come. If you want the dog to sit, just tell the dog to sit. The dog will out naturally when it sits, as long as what it's biting is going to be out of the dog's reach when they do sit. So if they're biting up high on a high target and their front feet are off the floor, they're going to have to out when they sit. If you want the dog to lie down and they're lower on the bite, you could tell the dog to down, and the dog is going to have to release the bite just to go down. Like I said, I'm not saying don't use the word out. You can use the word out, but in these exercises, I stay away from it because I want to keep the dog on their toes, and I want to keep the dog really versatile and what I can have them do when they're releasing from the bite. So it gets them to pay a little closer attention. All right. So don't use the word out. Like I said, I relate this to like using the word stay. We tell the dog to sit. I don't tell the dog, and in the system we usually don't tell the dog to stay. We just say sit, good boy. It automatically means stay. It's going to be implied. It's not all the time you want the dog to sit and just pop right back up. So it's kind of the same thing with the out. You go right to the command, out is implied. Next point is don't out the dog too soon on the bites. So when we're doing this exercise, remember, we want the dog to have fun, and we want to make sure the dog understands that they're going to get a chance to settle into the bite. So with each, you could do a bunch of repetitions during this exercise, especially if the dog is having fun, the dog's enjoying each bite. So when the dog goes and bites, let the dog settle into it and praise the dog and let the dog enjoy the fight a little bit. Don't right away give another command, because then the dog is going to bite and it's going to loosen. It's going to end up loosening up its grip because it's going to be expecting just to have to do another command again. And also you could kind of hurt the balance of how much fun the dog is having here if they think they're not even going to get a chance to really settle in and enjoy it. Because regardless, this exercise, it's a pretty, in the beginning I do, a lot of repetitions. You will want to counter it in the other bite sessions of giving them nice long bites where they settle onto the bite for a long time, and you're just slipping a suit or giving them the tug and letting them walk around in it. Because I said, too many outs and releases off of something can hurt the bite. It's a real thing. So to lessen the effects of it, let them settle into the bite on each of these repetitions. Next point. When you send the dog, to bite, let whoever's holding the tug, they can mix in bite building, they can touch the dog, they can pet him, they can give the dog a nice fight, just to make it easier for the dog. When the handler does call the dog off to do another command, have the agitator, or the person holding the tug, we'll just call him the agitator, stand still right after the person gives the command. It'll just make it a little bit easier for the dog to let go when you're teaching them. The more movement, the more they're going to be fired up, and the more difficult it may be for them to naturally let go. Don't have the agitator freeze up first before the person gives the commands when doing this, because then the dog will see that as a cue, and they might start letting go as soon as the agitator starts to stay still. Okay, so have them stay still right after the command. Further along in the training, when the dog is doing well here, you can have the agitator even fight straight through it and call them off of the actual fight. That's going to be a little harder for the dog, but set the dog up for success in these earlier training sessions and try to avoid setbacks of them anticipating. So have them stay still right after the command, not before the command. Last thing here before we show you footage on the dog is remember that the handler is on the dog's team. All right. So what I mean by that is you don't ever want the dog to see the handler as competition for the tug. So remember, what I mean by that is you generally, the handler is not going to be taking the tug away from the dog. If anything, the handler takes the dog away from the tug. It's two completely different things. The handler takes the dog away from the tug, and then generally the handler sends the dog back to the tug. The handler's showing the dog how to get back to the tug. The handler's going to be praising the dog, going to be petting the dog while the dog is going to be biting. The handler shouldn't be choking out a dog or any of this kind of stuff in it. If you have a dog that really, especially even on the last bite, if they don't want to release the tug, it's better. We use ropes on our tugs. tie the rope to a wall or have the agitator hold on, stand on the end of the rope or something, and then have the handler call the dog away from the tug, because the dog cannot bring the tug with them, or have them do a formal out command and treat the dog. But out of all the bites the dog does, the dog may do over a dozen bites in one training session here. There's only going to be one where the dog doesn't get to go back, that the handler does not send the dog back to the tug. And during that time, the handler should give the dog a lot of praise and probably a treat or something. So it far outweighs the amount of times that the dog may associate the handler with not being able to get back to the tug. All right. So that's a little intro. So remember, this is combining the bite work with the control. If your dog masters these exercises on a tug and it seems smooth, then the next step would be to try it on, if the dog is up to that, on the bite suit, and then you could eventually do it with like muzzle work, hidden stuff, things like that. So. We'll show you some video footage now. Not this video footage. First with a heel, off leash heel.
That was heel?
Boy.
Heel.
Alright, and when he's doing good, you give him the pocket command.
Good boy. Good boy.
Good Don't say his name.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
You want me to run up and like go pet it out there, right?
That's okay, you can pet it.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
Alright, go over there and do a recall with him, and then do, what you actually do is sit, and then if he does the sit, you send him right back.
That was come?
No. Good boy. Good boy. Elvis, sit. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Elvis. Good boy.
Just good boy.
Oh, I keep saying.
Because he's going to think of commands.
I know.
You're crazy enough.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
I don't call him yet. Now, for what the next thing you're going to do is you're going to send him to there.
That was come?
No. Right to the.
Good boy.
Place?
No. Place. Good boy.
Oh, so you want me to send it right from there?
Yeah, we're going to mix it up, keep him on his toes, make sure he stays there.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Good boy.
Alright, you can send them when you're ready.
Good boy.
Jumped the gun a little early.
Don't say his name now.
Good boy.
Pat him.
Good boy. 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 Good boy.
So what I'm going to do now is just do the SI2. Alright, right when I tell you. Alright.
That was it. Good boy. 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 Good boy.
Next one we'll do is the DOW laugh.
Good boy.
You're ready.
That was down.
No. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Good boy. Boy. That's a good boy. Yeah, good boy.
So you do everything on the tug, then you do it on the man. Thinks he's gonna get a bite. One time.
Good boy.
Our inside of his paw is different colors.
Yeah, Brian's a little bit brown between his paw.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Oh. Oh. Good boy.
Alright. So this one, you write to H-E-E-L.
Okay.
And you're ready.
That was heel?
No.
Heel?
Good.
Heel? That was come.
Good boy.
Heel?
Okay.
Good boy.
Good
Good boy.
boy.
Good boy. Good boy.
Then what you do so he doesn't go right, just to mix it up, just slow down, have him sit first, then just send him.
Good boy, Elvis. Good boy. Elvis, sit. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.